So welcome to the Small Ball Podcast. My name is Bill Littler. Our next episode is titled The Introduction. I'm married to Jill and we're going on 22 years of marriage. We have two daughters. Our oldest is Emma, she's a sophomore at Pitt, and our youngest is Macy, she's a senior at Central Valley, and she plans on playing softball at Youngstown State. Of my involvement with fast pitch, I started coaching 8U when both my daughters, both Emma and Macy, played, and they only played together one season. And the reason why was I had offered to take and coach an 8U team if they allowed Macy to play a year early. And then Emma kind of lost interest in fast pitch. She didn't enjoy it as much as Macy did, and of course Macy fell in love with it and excelled at it, obviously. Now, when Macy started to get better, her second year at 8U, she was on an all-star team, and I was fortunate enough to coach that team, and that team was a lot of fun. We were very competitive. All the parents and kids, we all got along great. For the most part, man, that was probably one of my most enjoyable experiences at coaching. And it really ignited what travel ball is, as far as the difference between rec ball and travel ball. That experience really showed us how much fun the competitive aspect of softball could be. A lot of the coaching mentality of my high school baseball coach, his name was Joe Colella at Hopewell, he coached small ball, bunt, move the runners, being aggressive on the bases. The game of softball should be played with small ball. When you see the most successful teams out there for the approach that they have of coaching. So that's what I use. So, I took over a Valley Rage team at 10U that Macy had played on. And I coached that from 10U to 12U. And it is said that we were among some of the most decorated teams in Valley Rage. We won a lot of tournaments. We were very competitive every time we played. We beat teams that we probably shouldn't have beat. And it's not like we had a ton of great talent. But it really showed that the team played together. They bought into what I was selling them as far as how to play the game. The parents were all really supportive. The atmosphere was just fun and competitive. And it was a real joy to coach them. And I learned a lot coaching that team as well. I stopped coaching at 12U. That was my final year in coaching travel. And then, of course, Macy went off to Team PA, and I didn't coach at Team PA at all. Now, I did continue coaching at the rec level, and the 14U team that I coached, we actually won the BCFPL 14U championship game. And that team was only the second Central Valley team to win a Beaver County championship. So I'm pretty proud about that. I also was the Central Valley Girls Fast Pitch Organization president. I did that for 4 years. And then I also was the president of the Beaver County Fast Pitch League. We originally merged with Lawrence County years ago and formed the WPA FPL. And then there was some issues there, and we decided to pull it back and let it only be Beaver County again. And we did that. So we transitioned and formed the BCFPL, and that was in 2018. I was president of that league for 4 seasons, and I'm currently still involved with it, but I'm trying to transition out of it now. And of course, I was an assistant coach for Central Valley High School for 1 season. The first camera that I used was for a Yamaha YXZ 1000R ATV. The camera that came with that vehicle was a Panasonic HX-A1M. And what I did was I attached that to my hat as I was coaching these games. And I did this in the winter of 2014, in an indoor tournament. I do have footage of that. It was a really exciting game. We were playing some team from New York who was really good, and it was a 0-0 tie, and it was truly a battle, and we ended up losing that game 1-0. But some of the footage that I captured coaching that game with my hat cam was pretty cool. In our first tournament, it was early spring, but at some point I was asked to take it off by the tournament director. I guess there were some parents complaining about it, so I ended up, taking it off, and then I didn't use it anymore. So I used it in the spring of 2015, and once that coach or the director told me that I had to take it off, I just kind of let it go, because it really wasn't embraced. The camera video stuff wasn't really embraced back then at that point. So I kind of abandoned it. In 2016, I really didn't do much of videoing at all. And then I got a GoPro Session. And in 2017 is when I started playing around with it, and I would just hang it from the dugout. So, I would hang my bag up there, and I would hang the camera off of it and record games from that angle. I did that a little bit through 2016. And then I ended up buying a GoPro Hero version 5, and that's the typical GoPros you see now on the back of fences. Around that time is when my wife had a surgery, and she couldn't attend many games at that point. So it kind of got me serious about recording our games so she can watch them later. And then I started to make highlight videos from these games, which turned out to be a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed it. And then the following year in 2019, that's when my daughter was playing for Team PA and I was no longer coaching. So I started to play a lot with live streaming and also recording on Facebook. So then in 2020 is when COVID hit. And when COVID hit, it kind of pushed live streaming to the front. And then you started to see more and more people doing it. You saw, software vendors like Athletes Go Live come in and try to come up with their own products and stuff. And then in 2021, I was asked to be a beta tester for Game Changer live streaming. So I did that, and I had a lot of success with that as well. And then I started playing with Mevo starts, and that streaming was a lot better, in my opinion anyway, than the GoPros were. And then I started to broadcast some travel games. So I would not only live stream them, but I would also, commentate the game. I really enjoyed that side of the game, recording, live streaming, all that stuff. And, and my daughter's graduating, so her days are numbered as far as me recording her games or streaming her games. So I was asked to come back and coach after she graduated, but I really don't want to do that. I did try umpiring, and I just didn't like it. So there is a live stream void in Beaver County, specifically with softball. And, I felt it was a good opportunity for me to spin a network like this up and see what can happen with it. And the idea was I wanted to stay in Beaver County. And the reason why is because I just wanted to limit the size of it. I didn't want to go too big because I'm only one person. So I thought Beaver County was the perfect size to do this for. That, and I have a lot of relationships in Beaver County. So I know that it's something that would be embraced because they know who I am. I'm going to focus on the BCFPL in the youth games. So that's 10U and 12U. I am going to try to do some 8U games. I do want to do some travel games that's in the area, maybe some tournaments that are hosted in Beaver County. And of course, I'd like to do some Valley Rage teams as well, stream some of their games. I do want to focus on high school games in the spring. I did talk with the WPIAL, and they did give me approval to do it. I just need to get the athletic director and coach's approval before doing it. WPIAL playoff games, those are, the Trib Live has rights to those games. So if I would want to stream any of those, I have to buy the rights off of Trib. And then of course the WPIAL championship is off limits, and then anything for the PIAA is off limits. What I did was in the late summer of 2022 with the all-star teams, and then into the fall games, I used those games for testing purposes. So just finding the right mix of things took me several games to do. I actually came up with a method that seems to be pretty stable. Quality looks really good. I feel like I'm in a position now where I think we'll have some success here in the spring. I do want to have a small ball podcast episode that specifically focuses on the streaming and what we're doing to make this work. I did decide to use YouTube to host these live streams. And the reason why I did that for the most part is because YouTube, there's zero cost to it. It doesn't cost me anything. It doesn't cost you guys anything. And that's really the intent of this network, is to offer live streaming without a charge. A couple other reasons. YouTube handles audio copyrights a lot better than a platform such as Facebook does. If you're doing a live streaming and there's a team that plays walk-up music and Facebook captures some of the audio that's copyrighted, they'll drop your feed off. Where YouTube doesn't do that. They're more forgiving. YouTube has some privacy measures for youth games. When you label that stream as a kid-friendly video, it enables a lot of different security features. Now, also for youth games, I won't announce any of the players' names during the broadcast. I'll only talk about numbers. So I won't put a name to the number. This is a non-profit organization. I filed for 501c3 status and did get approved for it. So we are officially nonprofit. The running cost for this is around $550 annually, and then of course any type of hardware that we need. So I did create a wish list on Amazon, and a lot of followers have already purchased a lot of equipment for me. The only thing that we are outstanding at this point is I would really like a second camera. So hopefully the fundraisers that we have will put us in a position where we can use some of that money to purchase that second camera. Also, we're always looking for sponsors or donors. So the one thing about a live stream event with softball is there's a lot of dead time in between innings. We'll be able to fill that dead time with businesses and advertising. I can create cards to show. We can show logos, and there's a new feature coming out next spring that will allow us to actually show commercials. If you know anyone who owns a business or would like to get into the advertisement piece of it, please throw them my way, and we can definitely negotiate what we can do. We're also accepting cash donations to a Venmo account. It's called BC Softball Network. Then of course I had already mentioned the fundraisers. These fundraisers are going to bring in some money to help with the running costs. Also any equipment that we may need, but the long-term goal fundraisers is to offer a scholarship fund for the Beaver County softball players. Then the last thing I'd like to talk a little bit about is about these podcasts. So last fall we were doing high school games in the fall, and we were picking up a lot of momentum from the network itself, getting a lot of followers, getting a lot of subscribers to YouTube channel, all that stuff. And then when winter came, it just kind of stopped. And it made me realize that we need something to bridge the gap between fall and spring with sports. So that's why I came up with the Small Ball podcast. We'll have a weekly podcast released and just talk about something softball related. So we'll have things like player interviews. We'll have, there's an episode coming that's going to be talking about bats. So and that comes to an end of this episode. Thanks for watching. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe on YouTube, and follow us on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram if you're on those platforms, and like anything that we do. And I appreciate your support, and we'll see you next week.